Hi, I'm Hope Savara. Join us every Monday on TNC Radio Live at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's Building Strong Minds.
This program was previously recorded. Welcome in TNC Radio.live. This is Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker.
Good evening, everybody, wherever you might be tonight. I am Josh Banker, your co-host, along with Ivan Anderson and our producer, Mr. Tom Kelly. And Ivan, do you know what time zone you're in? Or do you know what state you're in at this point? How you doing?
For the latest in ride-sharing gig economy news, visit UberLiftDrivers.com. That's UberLiftDrivers.com. Welcome in Wednesday night, TNC Radio.live. Happy to have you with us. We're live tonight with Clutch Time Sports. And now here's Anderson and Banker.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. Good evening, truckers around the United States of America. Happy Wednesday evening for you. It's a nice, cold, blistering day here in Southern California. Got a lot of rain yesterday and today. I'm your co-host, Ivan Anderson, along with my good partner inside, man, Mr. Josh Baker. What's up, JB? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. My head just recently stopped spinning after a brief discussion of weather prior to our show this evening. So I'm good. Let's leave the weather talk right there. It seems like the first 2-3 minutes of our show, we start talking about weather. And I'm sure everybody that's, out in, New England right now is like, yeah, I'm sure they had a cold, blistery day out in Southern California today. Sure, Ivan. What was it? 60? Woo!
Hey, you know what? You've been here long enough. You actually get used to the weather. And, JB, I got to say this, as you heard me trying to get herding my cats around my house. I am alone here for this week. My wife is gone, and I am trying to do everything in this house, and I'm losing my mind. So for any man that has had to do the laundry, the dishes, the food, the shopping, the cleaning, we're not built for this. We really are not.
Well, I can't say that I have experienced it to the level that you have, but as a single bachelor, I mean, yes, I'm just not. Yeah, let's ask Aaron Rodgers what he thinks about that. Yeah, do we got a small violin that we can play as well there, Mr. Kelly? I'm not real sure, but anyway, this is your reprieve then, Ivan. You get a nice hour here to chat up some sports and,
yes,
talk with your great friend that you love so much. I know. What do you got? I know you've got a bunch of topics you want to hit on tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Let's get right to it.
Well, let's stand up because we were not on last week and play a little bit of homage to Mr. Tom Kelly and congratulatory for your Houston Astros winning a second World Series in 4 years. So let's give yourself a hand for that, Mr. Kelly. Go ahead. I'm waiting for that. And the other thing is, there he comes.
There he goes. I do have one question for you guys. How about them Astros?
Woo-hoo! You guys played really well, but come on, let's be honest. Philly should have never been there in the first place, and Philly played above their status. 87 victories on the year. They peaked at the right time. They got to the World Series, which I thought they were going to do. I wasn't sure they were going to win it. Actually, after they won Game 2, I thought, Phillies might have this. But the Astros, too many bats, too many R's, JB.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this kind of ad nauseum over the course of the season with regards to when we compared the Astros to like the Yankees and stuff. The depth of the Astros is really what won them this series. I mean, Jeremy Pena has been a revelation. I'm sure the ghost of Carlos Correa, Tom, is not even on your radar anymore because that guy has been just ridiculous.
Who are you talking about?
Pena? Yeah,
No,
yeah, I know. Yeah, Pena
Carlos-
Correa.
I don't remember a player by that name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. But yeah, I know. And what's been one of the Achilles heels for the Phillies over the last several seasons actually kind of reared its ugly head again in the World Series, which has been their bullpen. So you can talk about Pena filling in for Correa, of course, but how about a round of applause for Yordan Alvarez? Because he's the one guy it feels like every team had to prepare for offensively. And every time Rob Thompson and the Phillies try to make some sort of calculated decision, they bring in a guy like Alvarado or whatever. And the home run that Alvarez hit in Game 6 above the batter's eye in center field, that was, I mean, ridiculous. Tom, it reminded me back to when they used to have the hill out in center field. And my thought was, if he actually had hit that with that, flagpole out there in center field, whatever they obviously have the hill, but just the look of that would have been ridiculous.
Now, even as is, it was ridiculous. I mean, it was an amazing home run, and Houston had so much fun with it. I think more people went to the parade this week than voted. Yeah, I mean,
wow.
It was wow. I mean, we're having a good time. We're enjoying this one.
And what about your mattress guy who won $75 million?
Yeah, I've met that guy before. He's an amazing dude.
Mattress Mac.
Unbelievable. Well, I only wanted to just give a little bit of time because we're a little bit late seeing how we didn't do our show last week. But, JB, we got to get right into college football because a lot of things happened on Saturday that surprised some people, didn't surprise others. And Tennessee and Alabama losing like they did just shook things up. And you and I, before the show, we were kind of going through the top 5. Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Michigan at 3, TCU at 4, and Tennessee at 5. And then, of course, Oregon and LSU coming in at 6 and 7. And that's nice of Oregon to make the top 10 inside for the Pac-12. But, man, you and I were talking, and I was saying I felt that Tennessee should not have been put at 1 after they beat Alabama. You made a good case that they should have, but I said I felt it was unfair for them to go ahead of Georgia like that because they tumbled down to 5 when I thought that Michigan is really not a strong 3 because of their strength of schedule.
Well, and there's still going to be a lot of time to clear things up before the playoffs. Playoffs actually start. I got to get that in. It's like an itch. I got to scratch every week. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moore. I appreciate it. But you and I had kind of talked about you weren't even sure that Tennessee should be a number 5, but I mean, as the top ranked 1-loss team in the country, I think they're right where they need to be because you just don't beat LSU and Alabama every year. I mean, even if you're Georgia, that's hard to do. So I know you were talking about how Alabama, and this was off the air before we started, how Alabama is having a down year. Yeah, for Alabama, but that's like calling Bill Belichick, not very good because he's only winning 10 games a year instead of 13 or 14. So, I mean, you got to dethrone the king of the top of the mountain at some point, which Nick Saban obviously is. And, it wouldn't surprise me if Alabama even starts to creep back into the top 5 again if, they somehow get to the SEC championship game, which is going to be tough because Tennessee still has its own way to that title game if they continue to win out, and their schedule is pretty easy from here until the end of the regular season. But it'll be interesting because Ohio State and Michigan still have to play, and that could not potentially knock one of them out. And you just never know. I mean, the Pac-12 has been much improved this year, and it's been reflected in the top 25 rankings. But, I mean, Oregon could lose to Oregon State in the Civil War game up there and throw that completely off track too. So this is the time of year I really like college football because you get rivalry games started, you get the deeper into the schedule, injuries happen and all these different things. It's so unpredictable.
It's very unpredictable. And as I was telling you off air, and we do this, guys, you'll figure out we talk a lot off air about sports. Michigan being a 3 seed, I don't think Michigan should be there. Why? If you look at their strength of schedule, it does not hold up. And Michigan, I believe, is going to lose to Ohio State because the game this year is in the Shoe. It's not in the Big House. And you go down to the Shoe, and the Bucks are going to roll over Michigan. And I think Michigan's going to take the biggest tumble. I thought Tennessee took a tumble because they were at 1. I thought that if Tennessee was a solid 2, that they might have tumbled to a 4. But Michigan, with their strength of schedule, they probably will tumble out of the top 10 and probably land somewhere around 11 or 12. That's how bad that schedule is.
We'll see. I mean, I think what happens is that, you look at the 4 undefeated teams that are in the top 4. You still have to, you got to play the game. You win to play the game. and until you actually start losing some of these games, like let's look at USC, for instance. They're number 8 behind LSU, Oregon, and Tennessee, who are outside the top 4. USC has only got 1 loss, and it was 1 point on the road in Utah. So, I mean, Utah, as we've talked about before, is always a very underrated Pac-12 team. So there's just so much stuff that can happen between now and the end of November that this is all sports radio fodder here, really, is what it is.
Well, that's it of our first segment. We'll pick it back up on our second segment. You're listening to Clutch Time Sports here on TNCRadio.live.
Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, TNCRadio.live.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Inspections for truck drivers. Getting stopped for an inspection in the middle of a delivery is a situation every truck driver dreads. Inspections are time-consuming and interfere with the driver's schedule for delivering their load on time. However, they are essential for regulating safety conditions for everyone on the road. There's 6 different levels of DOT roadside inspections. Each level has a unique set of requirements and can happen at any time. It's important to be familiar with all 6 levels of DOT inspections, so if you have one, you can pass. Level 1, North American Standard Inspection. The Level 1 inspection is often referred to as a full inspection and is the most thorough. There are 37 steps to a Level 1 inspection. During this inspection, the driver's credentials and the vehicle will be examined. Because the Level 1 inspection has so many steps, it does take a significant amount of time. A good way to help speed up the process of a Level 1 inspection is by staying on top of driving requirements and proper truck maintenance. Here's some things the inspector will check during a Level 1 inspection. Medical examiner certificate, alcohol and drug use, daily logs, hours of service, HOS documentation, seatbelt use, driver and vehicle inspection reports, brake system, chopping devices, exhaust system, truck frame, fuel system, turn signals, brake lamps, tail lamps, headlamps, lamps on projecting loads, safe loading, steering mechanism, suspension, tires, van and open-top trailer bodies, wheels and rims, windshield wipers, hazardous material, HM requirements. If you're a hazard hauler, have your shipping papers ready. Level 2. Walk-around driver vehicle inspection. Level 2 inspections are a less invasive process and are also the most common. They're similar to the Level 1 inspections, except there is less involvement in the vehicle inspection part. During the Level 2 inspection, the examiner will do a walk-around driver vehicle inspection. They'll check everything that's in a Level 1, but will not physically get under the vehicle. Level 3. Driver-only inspection. The Level 3 inspections are the second most common type of inspection. Since the inspection doesn't include the vehicle, it can go relatively quickly. A driver will be expected to present a record of duty status, that's RODS, driver's license, hazmat requirements, medical card and waiver, skill performance evaluation certificate, vehicle inspection report, HMDG requirements, and HOS documentation. Level 4. Special inspections. A Level 4 inspection is a one-time inspection of a specific trend within the industry. This type of inspection happens when the Department of Transportation wants to do further research on industry issues. Level 5. Vehicle-only inspection. A level 5 inspection is like level 1, but the driver is not present during the inspection. During this inspection, the examiner will check everything that's in the level 1 inspection except those relevant to the driver. Level 6 Enhanced NAS inspection for radioactive shipments. The Level 6 inspection is only relevant to drivers that haul radioactive materials. These inspections are put into place to ensure that drivers who haul radioactive material are following proper safety protocol. This info blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.com.
It's Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Here we're helping drivers as they travel life's highway. I love that. The spiritual side, drivers face a lot out on the road. Truckers Life Radio digs in on the spiritual and moral questions that drivers face on a daily basis. You don't want to miss it. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back in TNC Radio.live Wednesday night. That means it's Clutch Time Sports with Banker and Mr. Anderson. You know,
well, thank you,
Mr.
Todd.
Mentioned that.
You said you had a surprise.
Yeah, well, you know, that Mr. Anderson. I guess you've heard that before, haven't you, Ivan?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and here's every one of them.
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
There they are, Mr. Anderson, one right after another. And I put that together a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, you know, I kind of feel bad for Josh.
Oh, no.
So I looked around, and I found some TED Talks.
I'm a banker. Yeah, I know. I know how you feel. And I'm not ashamed to be a banker. Are you ready to become bankers?
And now you know the rest of the story.
Oh, hey, speaking of the rest of the story, I get to pick tonight, and this is the one I chose.
The rest of the story. Sam was born in Virginia to a distinguished family. But he quit college to go live with the Cherokee Indians. They adopted him into the tribe. They named him the Raven. Then in 1812, Sam quit his happy nomad life with the Cherokees, joined the Army, fought with Andy Jackson, became a major general. After the war, Sam's family had moved to Tennessee. He joined them there. He ran for Congress and got elected. Then returned to Tennessee, got elected governor. But while running for a second term, Sam married Eliza Allen, a girl from a fine family. Marriage lasted 11 days. I don't know whether drink drove them apart or the divorce drove Sam to drink. He never said, but at any event, he resigned as governor of Tennessee. He returned to the Cherokee Nation, and he stayed under the influence of firewater for a very long time. Sam was going downhill fast. April 1832. Sam is back in Washington on an Indian mission for his adopted tribe, dressed in buckskin coat, beaver collar, hunting knife at his belt. On the evening of April 13, he's walking down Pennsylvania Avenue with Senator Buckner of Missouri and Representative Blair of Tennessee. They recognize a passerby as Congressman Stanbury of Ohio. Now, 1 month earlier, this Stanbury had said some very bad things about Sam on the floor of the House of Representatives, implied that Sam had been guilty of fraud on a contract with the Cherokee Nation. Well, Sam has with him a hickory cane cut from a tree at Andy Jackson's Hermitage in Tennessee. And Sam picks up this cane, and he goes after Congressman Stanbury right then and there, and he clobbers him good. Stanbury pulls a pistol, but the flintlock misfires and it doesn't go off, so Stanbury boils up, boils over, brings charges before Congress that he has been attacked for words spoken in Congress, and Sam was sentenced to be reprimanded by the Speaker of the House. Standing shakily on the bottom rung of the ladder, Sam, already a discredited and beaten man, was sentenced and was censured. But then a strange thing happened. Sam stayed in Washington and changed his ways. At the instant of that public censure, some dormant greatness took hold of Sam, and when American history needed the steady hand of an uncommon man to capture Texas from the Mexicans, they sent for Sam. When the infant Texas needed a steady hand to hold it together and to mold it into an independent republic, they elected Sam to be its first president. Everything had changed. The man who had staggered, who had fallen, had been mysteriously lifted up again. When Texas was admitted to the Union, Sam, the one-time drunken loafer from the Indian Nation, went back to Washington as a United States Senator. Yes, this is the story of a man who was driven by his own weaknesses to his knees, and then, due to a public censure, he rose again to such prominence as he might never have known otherwise. The great state of Texas went on to send Sam to the Senate of the United States for 14 years, and then brought him home to become the governor of that state. And then, for all time to come, Texas gave to its largest city his name, Sam Houston. Now you know the rest of the story. The rest of the story.
A public censure. He was great, and then he got knocked down for doing something wrong, and then rose again. And his name was Houston.
Oh, the irony.
Stony
You can
ends.
cut it with a knife. It's so thick right now.
Gosh. and understand, he recorded that 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Was he sitting
And
on a
is it-
trash can or anything at that point?
Oh, there we go. But I don't. Our greatness. We rose again. We got.
That's
we
right.
took the censure. We got the censure. We got the punishment. Did that stop us? No. We rose again.
Well, and I'd be remiss, Ivan, if I didn't, at least as a lifelong Giants fan, give a shout out to Dusty Baker, who did finally get that elusive ring, regardless of the past that the Astros have had over the last 5 years. The long story past of Dusty Baker, who was in the on deck circle when Hank Aaron hit his record breaking home run back in the 70s. It's nice to see a guy who's been such a really a public servant to the game of baseball for so long, and who's not had a word bad ever said about him that I can even recall. Get to the top of that mountain and reach the pinnacle of a championship after so many years of the sport. I mean, certainly happy to see that happen for him.
It was neat to watch the guys gather around him, and they understood that they were witnessing history themselves. I mean, I think he is one of the calmest, cool managers that's ever managed a game.
Well,
I mean, you never know what he's thinking.
And he's every bit of what baseball is. And I say that because as I was watching Game 6, Joe Davis and John Smoltz were talking about the fact that he's every bit a superstitious guy as just about any baseball player is. And obviously he was a player, obviously, as well. But they were talking about when Yordan Alvarez, and I'm sure Tom Kelly is just like, yep, right now. But Dusty Baker, to change mojo, will go sit in different parts of the dugout to try to get the luck changed. And after Yordan Alvarez hits his 450-foot home run, they show a picture of where Alvarez gave Dusty Baker a high five because Baker had moved all the way down towards the camera well by the first base's coach's box of the dugout to give it, because that's where he was sitting when Alvarez hit his home run. He said, you know what? My normal spot up here ain't working right now. I'm going to move down. And sure enough, there it is.
So as broadcasters, guys who are in the media, it's worth noting that he was actually blocking that camera. One of the things that camera does is look in the visitor dugout and look at third base. They couldn't do it because of where he was standing. Now, what do you say? I'm sorry, Dusty Baker. You're kind of in the way of the camera.
That's too bad.
It's his dugout.
That's too bad.
The man's going to stand wherever the blank he wants to.
Exactly.
And that's where he chose to be, and it worked. I mean, what can you say? It should be noted, too, just in the last few hours, I don't know if you guys heard or not, Dusty Baker has signed a new contract and will be back for another year. He was asked by Pappy right after Big Poppy, right after the game, now that you've won, how you feeling? And did you hear what Dusty's answer was?
No.
I got one. I got one. I want another one.
Yeah.
That's him. I mean, it's so funny because even as JB, we talk about our faith, even as Christians, and my son says it best. He says, "I'm not superstitious, just a little stitious." So
he's not
once you're an athlete, not superstitious, just a little stitious. And you something about it. If you're an athlete, if you're in sports, whatever it is that you do, you kind of formulate that habit, that habitualness that you have to have, whether it's you're wearing the same socks or you put on the same sneakers a certain way, or you tie your belt or you tie your shoes a certain way. It all counts. So yeah, I can't blame him. And too bad. Third base camera, Dusty's a little stitious. Let the man win his game, get his pennant, get his World Series. I'm happy for him.
Going to bring it all back to full circle with Sam Houston.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You fall point shaving or finding out somebody else's playbook, and then you rise back up again, right?
There you go.
And that concludes the first half hour of our Houston Love Fest right here on Clutch Time Sports. No,
we're on a special 2-hour marathon. Houston.
Well, Tom, you don't even know this yet, and actually neither does Ivan, but there's going to be a little more love even in Trey Ranks coming up next segment.
Too.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, we got a couple of minutes in this segment, so I kind of want to segue back to college football just for a second and say this. I don't know where TCU came from. They're there. There's a possibility that TCU could wind up in one of the playoffs if they can go undefeated and win their game. So that's all I have to say about Texas Christian University. That would be pretty incredible. You win the World Series, then you get a school like TCU in there. That would be pretty nice. College, pros, I kind of like that mixture of things. I know it's
coming up Houston, isn't it?
It's all coming up
Texas. Texas. It's all right. We don't bite the hand that feeds us. Are you kidding me?
I hope not.
You kidding me? Playoff? No, okay. It just
JB,
I promise. Yes,
JB. What is going on with the NFL right now? Oh my goodness!
We got another half hour to talk about that. That is for darn sure. But we got the halfway mark of the season already, if you can believe it or not. And it's kind of everything we thought it could be, and we can talk about this a little bit later. But what I find fascinating, and Tom Kelly talked about his so-called interview that he did with Aaron Rodgers after last week's game, which is basically a soundbite that sounds like a crying baby, which is kind of interesting because it was going to go to one of my points that we're going to talk about later, Ivan, and the fact that I really feel, at least for the first half of the season, the evolution of the NFL into a younger man's game. We're getting guys like Aaron Rodgers struggling. Tom Brady is not really Tom Brady anymore, although he orchestrated yet another fourth quarter comeback against the Rams on Sunday. But you just feel this push into the younger guys like the Mahomes and the Josh Allens of the world, Lamar Jacksons, and we got rookies all over the place that are doing great. Chris Olave, Jalen Hurts, Tua has had a great start to his season.
Yes,
too.
He is.
After his concussion issues, it's the new blood in the NFL is so exciting.
It really is. And it's funny how you say young players. I mean, these guys aren't rookies. These guys are third and fourth year. Tua and Hurts are probably the youngest. I think even Lamar's been there, 3 years, and this is his 4th season?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's already got an MVP under his belt. So, I mean, we got a lot of new blood really trying to take over and create their own legacies away from, we got Drew Brees retiring. We got Aaron Rodgers, who's mentally on the fritz, it feels like. Tom Brady has got other issues outside of even football that, for whatever reason, things aren't happening on the field as well as he's had over the last several seasons either. But yeah, it feels like the guard is changing in the NFL. And I'm not talking about right guard or left guard. I'm talking about the overall guard of the NFL.
Yeah, you're right. Well, JB, what'd you say about that, baby?
In the past, okay, we'll get to that right after this next time out. You are listening to Clutch Time Sports right here on TNCRadio.live.
Do you feel like you're facing more than just the physical road ahead of you? Are you wondering if there's more to life? Join Ron Frazier, the host of Truckers Life Radio, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where he discusses the spiritual side of a driver's life. On the show, he goes through the spiritual and moral questions drivers face on a daily basis, helping you, the driver, as you travel life's highway.
And welcome right back, TNC Radio.live. This is Clutch Time Sports. Here's Anderson and Banker.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. Sorry, everybody. That was a short break, but that's okay. We also want you to check us out on Instagram and Twitter. You can catch us at Clutch Time TNC. And, it's really funny how we love this segment. We enjoy this segment. It's a funny segment, but you know what it is. It's because in the last 4 years, we done won Trey Range.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And I'll let Tom play Mr. Anderson a little bit later again, I guess. Maybe it's just a nice surprise. Anyway, hey, we've had a couple of weeks off here, and we had Joey Litt a couple weeks ago too, so we didn't get Trey Rangs during that week either. So it's been a little while, but you already kind of mentioned one of them that I was going to talk about here tonight, Mr. Anderson, which was Mattress Mac cashing in on his $75 million bet. So for those of you that don't know or didn't hear the Trey Rangs from a few weeks ago, Jim McIngvale, also known as Mattress Mac down in Houston, put multiple bets against the Astros for winning the World Series so that he could hedge a bet where he offered customers who spend at least $3,000 on furniture their money back. But I didn't even realize this until I read this week. But did you realize he was offering double their money back if you spend at least $3,000 on furniture if the Astros had won the World Series? So
no, he's offering double.
I mean, this guy knows what he's doing, and of course, he had a front row seat to the Game 6 win in Houston. There, but Mattress Mac has put multiple six and seven figure bets to an average of about 7.5 to 1 to get himself $75 million. In fact, the gentleman who kind of runs online Caesars Digital said that he alone had to write a check to Mattress Mac for $30 billion. Where's Austin Powers when you need him?
Wow.
$30 million.
Wow.
So it's all Houston all the time, and congratulations to Mattress Mac. And that is Rang number 1. All right, so Tom Kelly's smile will continue at least for another 6 months, I guess, until spring training or the start of the regular season. Okay. Now, Ivan, I'm not a huge soccer fan, but even I, as I was doing my laundry this past Saturday afternoon, couldn't help but be mesmerized by the MLS Cup, which featured one of our local teams, the LAFC and the Philadelphia Union. So rarely do you get two top seeds squaring off in any championship, but this happened to take place this last weekend between the Union and LAFC. Then you have a goal scored by each team within the last 10 minutes of regulations, and then both scoring in bonus time within the final overtime period. So you play 2 15-minute overtime periods. It doesn't matter. It's not golden goal where the first goal wins. You play out the 30 minutes no matter what. So both teams scored in the bonus time within the final period of overtime to lead to a shootout. And it was really just exquisite. Gareth Bale, who's known on the global circuit as a huge star, tied it up for LAFC with the latest ever MLS Finals goal in the 128th minute of overtime to set it up for LAFC's substitute goalkeeper, John McCarthy, who was in just his second ever appearance for LAFC because their starting goalkeeper got a red card in the middle of the game. So he had to come in, and ironically, John McCarthy, who did he last play for? Well, he was a former member of the Philadelphia Union. And he held the Union to no shots in the penalty kicks, and LAFC won 3-0 in penalty kicks to get their first ever MLS title. Instant classic. If you go back and watch the highlights, like I said, I'm not a big soccer guy, but kind of hard to keep my eyes off of that.
Well, you know, guys, I pride myself on always having the right sound effect for any time. So let me pull this one up.
I know. That's normally what I would be doing a soccer match as well. So,
well, guys, it's not that bad.
I mean, it was a championship game.
For the record, big time soccer player in high school. I just had to go there. So,
oh, okay, all right. Well, thanks. Now I'm ready for a nap. I appreciate that. All right, so rank number 3, because we haven't talked about Houston yet enough tonight. Mr. Kelly, did you realize what happened with Houston's college football team this last weekend?
The most points scored in a game since 1953 or something like that.
So, yeah, we all know Georgia dominated Tennessee. Notre Dame shocked unbeaten Clemson. Yeah, those were great. And then LSU went for 2 to beat Alabama in overtime, which was awesome, by the way, as well. But, Ivan, did you know that amongst all of that, there was this game that Tom mentioned where one team scored on their 4th play from scrimmage, and then on their 13th, and then on their 21st, and then their 29th, 37th, 42nd, and 45th play from scrimmage? That's what happened when SMU beat Houston. So it's not all good news for Houston. So SMU defeated Houston 77-63 on Saturday. And no, my Xbox was not plugged in at the time when that happened.
I'll take the over.
Is an actual score.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, take the over for sure. Now, imagine being Houston, posting 710 yards. Their quarterback, Clayton Tune, throwing for 527 yards, 7 touchdowns, and rushing for 1, and you still lose.
Wow.
Ridiculous. SMU and QB Tanner Mordecai, you kind of went biblical to part the Red Sea of Houston's defense to well, I don't think you can actually call it defense, but it was 56-35 at halftime. Wow. There was 91 points in the first half of this game. Mordecai for SMU only had 28 completions, but he still threw 9 touchdown passes and also ran for 54 yards and a running score. Video games come to life in Texas.
Power up.
Yeah. Get your fireballs and blue shells ready. That's just ridiculous. And that's Trey Rangs for tonight. Yeah, Tom, that game was just
wow.
You couldn't have a highlight segment long enough for it because eventually you got to go, okay, which one are we going to show here? I mean, there's 49 points or 140 points in this game. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
What was the final score?
77-63.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Like you said, Tom, bet the over.
Yeah, well, I took the under in Houston against the point. So,
so sorry.
We're churning out yards. Hey, you know what? Just to let you guys know, my wife's family, my wife and her family are listening to this from Canada, and they're big soccer fans. You know,
okay.
The Orange from the Netherlands and Premier League is on the weekends on Saturday. So I get up and I listen to. It's a great sporting day for a match against Manchester United as they head towards the pitch. So,
well, we do have World Cup coming up here in a couple of weeks too. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, especially having it so late in the year. They're having it out in Qatar or Qatar or however you want to pronounce it this week. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out being so late in the year. But
well, they have to. You can't play in 150-degree weather.
Oh, well, that's very true. I don't think there's enough snoring that Tom can play for enough of our. I promise you, Tom, there will not be a World Cup hour-long preview.
No,
we'll keep that to ourselves.
We'll get the highlights once in a while.
There were 6 goals in this fixture last season. Arsenal won here by 4 goals to 2 back in April. They each beat each other away from home last season.
Why do the announcers always sound like they're biting on a tongue depressor?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
We'll take a quick break and be back here in a couple of minutes, yes?
Yes, indeed.
All right.
We got 1 more minute, and we'll take our nap while watching some soccer and be back for our final segment right here on TNCRadio.live.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on TNCRadio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on TNCRadio.live. Weeknights, midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot
This
Shot
blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 6 safety tips for truck driving in hot weather. Driving in the heat can create dangerous situations for truck drivers. Drivers need to take specific precautions before hitting the road in extreme heat. With the incoming heat wave dubbed as a heat dome by the National Weather Service, drivers need to be aware of how to safely drive in these weather conditions. Follow our 6 safety tips for truck driving in hot weather. Every truck driver needs to complete a pre-trip inspection before driving, especially in hot weather. Check tires. Heat can have a huge effect on your tires. As the temperature increases, so does the air pressure in your tires. During the hottest months of the year, it's important to frequently check your tire pressure. Frequently checking on your tires can save you from a blowout. To get an accurate measurement, wait for your tires to cool down before checking the pressure. The heat and friction from the road cause your tires to warm up, which will cause a rise in tire pressure. Also, don't be afraid to take a break every couple of hours to let your tires cool down. While traveling in the summer months, you may want to give yourself some extra time to stop and check on your tires. Protect your engine. Not only should you protect yourself from the heat this summer, but you should also protect your engine. One way to keep your engine from overheating is to frequently check the engine oil. The oil keeps the engine cool and keeps the parts running smoothly. Engine coolant is just as important as engine oil. Coolant helps prevent the engine from overheating in extremely hot temperatures. Keep an eye on the coolant temperature gauge while driving. If the gauge goes above the safe temperature, pull over and see what's going on. Failing to assess the situation could lead to engine failure. Also, make sure to check for leaks in the hoses. A cracked hose could lead to engine failure. Tips to protect yourself from hot weather. It's just as important to protect yourself during extremely hot weather. Follow these steps to keep yourself cool and safe during these hot months. Stock up on water. As the temperature increases, you need to increase your water intake. Make sure to always have water in your truck. You never know when you might get stuck in traffic or break down on the side of the road. Wear sunscreen. Many truck drivers forget this step. Even when you're in your truck, you're still exposed to the harmful UVA rays from the sun. Make sure to put sunscreen on before hitting the road. Wear light-colored clothes. Light-colored clothing reflects light, and dark-colored clothing absorbs it. Wearing light-colored, loose-fitting clothes helps you stay cooler and more comfortable on the road. And be sure to check out our blog, 6 Safety Tips for Truck Driving While Driving in the Rain. This blog on tncradio.live was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.
Hey drivers, did you hear music on tncradio.live that you really liked? Or maybe you heard us interview an author of a book you'd like to read or listen to. You can get the books, music, and other products you hear about by going to our website at www.tncradio.live and clicking on the shopping cart.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Clutch Time Sports right here, tncradio.live. Josh Banker, Ivan Anderson, Tom Kelly as well. It's the Houston Celebration Hour, it feels like. Although we were just talking about NFL off the air.
Yeah.
What we're going to end our show with tonight, because we are at the halfway mark of this regular season. And we here at TNC Radio have an assortment of people that are doing the Pigskin Pick'em on ESPN's website and trying to guess games against the spread and seeing all this different stuff. Well, kudos to Tom Kelly, because even though, Houston beat Philly in the World Series, it was the opposite of what's happened in the NFL. And he was one that picked the Eagles to be one of those surprise teams to start at the beginning of the year, to have a great year. And they're still the only undefeated team left in the league, Ivan.
But you know what? I remember I picked Philly too with that. I picked that Jalen Hurts would have his come out year. This would be his coming out year, and he would be phenomenal. They're not just JB. They have the best record in the NFL. I mean, let's think about this. They're not just killing the NFC East and the NFC itself. They have the best record in the league. Heads and tails. They are 2 games ahead of every single team in the league. I'm loving the way they're playing football.
Not quite.
Okay. I'm sorry. The Vikings. Vikings are 7-1. Yes,
but that goes into the other kind of big surprise of this year too. Who would have suspected that Green Bay would be at 3-6? 3-6 for Aaron Rodgers, but the fact that they're being so bad and Minnesota has just stepped up and become so good at 7-1.
But it's like you were saying earlier. There is a real changing of the guard, and it happens in every single sport, and it's happening right now. It really, really is. And this new quarterback, even Mahomes, come on, Patrick Mahomes won that game. It was nobody else on the team that won that game this past week. And he did it with his legs and his arms. That has become the new prototype quarterback in the league. And if you're Tom Brady and you're Aaron Rodgers, the question becomes, where do you fit in today's football in that position?
You don't. Because Aaron Rodgers will flash the occasional run and get out of the pocket and make a play. But Tom Brady has never been that guy. And what's interesting is, the entire AFC East with Josh Allen, maybe having a UCL injury with his elbow, that could be very interesting. But every team in the AFC East is over 500. Buffalo 6-2, the Jets are 6-3, Miami 6-3, and even the Patriots are 5-4. Where you look at Tom Brady in his division, he's still leading their division, but they're 4-5. They're not even 500. Yeah. Atlanta's 4-5. New Orleans is 3-6, and Carolina's 2-7 in that NFC South. So you kind of have the bloodbaths that we talked about with the AFC East is not turning out to be that, but it's now the AFC West. Now it's the AFC East that's turning out to be the bloodbath, because all 4 teams are within 2 games of each other in that AFC East.
And who would thought that the AFC East would be that strong all the way down? And then who would think that the NFC East would be that strong? Right. I mean, the Cowboys 6-2, the Giants 6-2, the Commanders 4-5. We already knew that. But on top of the heat, you've got the Eagles at 8-0.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And then the Seattle Seahawks or the Seattle Mariners, depending on what referee you're talking about, Did you see that the other day, making a call in the Seattle Seahawks game, and they called them the Mariners? But that anyway. The Seahawks are 6-3. They got a 2-game lead in the win column over the Niners. I mean, this is the worst record that a defending Super Bowl champion has had through 8 games, and the Rams being 3-5. They're totally uninspired. And you and I had talked about this before the show about, are they missing a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. on this offense? Is that really what they're missing at this point? Because he's still looming out there, and Beckham, for all intents and purposes, is still going to be kind of an unproven commodity only because he's coming off a major knee injury. So being a free agent doesn't necessarily mean a team like Green Bay or Dallas or whoever may land him, is going to get the full OBJ. But it just kind of leaves your head scratching. What's wrong with the Rams?
What's wrong with the Rams has nothing to do with adding OBJ to the team. What's wrong with the Rams, and like I always say, I don't dog any professional player in any sport because it's hard doing it. What's really hurting them is Matthew Stafford. If you look at receptions on the year, Cooper Kupp leads with receptions. Allen Robinson, who is a phenomenal wide receiver, is getting no attention. Malcolm Brown getting no attention. Brandon Powell getting no attention. He's got to decide to be a quarterback for the team, because right now he's a quarterback for Kupp, and that's it.
Yeah, and their run game's been pretty non-existent too, and they've had some issues with Cam Akers personality-wise, even getting him on the field. So, yeah, their offensive line is not nearly as good either, as Andrew Whitworth has retired and gone on to broadcasting now. But yeah, the NFL has been quite interesting. Do you got any look into that crystal ball of yours over there? How things shape up? Because as a Niners fan at 4-4, I still picked them preseason to be in the Super Bowl. I love this Christian McCaffrey pickup. I think this is very interesting, and the West still has room to be taken by the Niners.
Did you guys win on Sunday? Because I didn't see the game.
They didn't play this last Sunday. They were off.
Oh, they had a bye. That's right. Yeah. I was wondering where they disappeared to. So they start the week. They start this week playing. Who do they start this week playing?
They're 4-4, and they play the Chargers this week.
Okay. I think that should be, in my opinion, a solid victory for them. I think it should be. Are they playing the Chargers up in San Fran, or are they playing down here at SoFi?
Up in Santa Clara.
Okay. I think they should have a nice victory on that. The Chargers are playing really well. I can't dog the Chargers. They're 5-3, second in their division behind the Chiefs. But I'm feeling with McCaffrey, I'm feeling like you are, because I love McCaffrey's running style. But not only that, let's not forget, McCaffrey is just as dangerous in the backfield as he is when he goes out as a wideout. And he picks up good yards after the reception.
Yeah, and the Niners are a team that's well versed in Swiss Army knife kind of guys, and that's exactly what Christian McCaffrey is. Deebo Samuel, they won in LA against the Rams right before their bye without Deebo Samuel, who's been their ultimate Swiss Army knife, as a wide receiver, and then running him out of the backfield. And now you got a guy like Christian McCaffrey that can do this too. Maybe Jimmy G wasn't quite the problem. Maybe he
wasn't.
And they're still winning with him. I mean, they won with him even before they brought Trey Lance in. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
But JB, I told you, unfortunately, when it comes to this business of professional sports and journalism and broadcasting, perception. And I always told you that Jimmy G has gotten a bad rap. If you look at his stats and you look at how many times he's been to the postseason, he's up there in the top 7, top 7 quarterbacks. But for some reason, the 49ers have it in their mind that they can't win with this guy. But if let this guy go out in the market, worst teams, bad teams are going to pick him up. He's a good quarterback. Can you imagine Jimmy G with Detroit Lions right now? Can you imagine Jimmy G with the Atlanta Falcons right now? How about Jimmy G with the Raiders right now versus Carr?
It'd be interesting.
It'd be better than what they have.
It'd be interesting to see what he would do in another system. That's for sure. Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Josh Banker alongside Ivan Anderson. and Tom Kelly, as always, for his help. We hope you join us next week. Same time, Wednesday night, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain Time, TNCRadio.live. Radio.live. Radio.